I did.
Beautiful.
I think it's recording.
Wonderful. Okay, so Fred is going to start the slideshow. We want to thank both Fred and Kyle for facilitating today. We do have a video. We have another document that we're going to share. So there will be a little bit of a transition. And Fred and I are working out the technology together. So it may not be completely smooth being non-IT people, but we are going to work it out together. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this Friday. And Fred and Kyle, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Shireen, so much for all of your support, especially with the technology. I'm used to things not going smoothly, but I am really praying that things will go well with this presentation, as it is, I think, very important. Initially, I want to just talk a little bit about the fact that Governor Cooper has declared the week of May 3rd through 9th as Children's Mental Health Awareness Week, and also May 7th, which was yesterday, as Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. So if we could just take just one moment of silence for those who live with mental illness, especially our children. Thank you. Okay, so thank you so much for that. Family Partner Implementation Specialist with North Carolina Families United. I'm a family partner. I am a parent of children who have mental health challenges, and I have been doing family partner work. It feels like about one way or another, but I actually started this particular process in 2001. In 2001, this particular process. Kyle, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Kyle Reese. I'm the youth coordinator with Youth Move North Carolina and North Carolina Families United. And I am a youth, I was a youth who had lived experience with the mental health lived experience, and I am now helping other young people with those same issues and providing support through Youth Move North Carolina.
Thank you, Kyle. So we decided to entitle this presentation as Partnering with Youth and Family Peer Support as Participants in Systems Change, as our philosophy is that the youth and family partner are partners with their community, with their other community partners in our communities, as well as the youth and parents who actually receive the services. We believe that they are change agents, that they are key to meeting goals. They are the ones who are able to set the goals that they want to reach. They are the ones who actually meet the goals, and they are the ones who tell others what they need in order to reach those goals. So they're change agents. So we consider them as participants, and as family partners and as youth peer support, we consider ourselves as change agents as well. So one of the things that I wanted to, I thought it was important that we talked a little bit about today is suggested approaches and considerations when hiring youth and family peer support. As I have been doing this work for quite some time, I think that one of the most barriers, or has been one of the challenges that we have run into, is the hiring of family and peer support without a true knowledge of the role with the organization that's doing the hiring. So we believe that before you partner, you need to know and accept that accommodations will be needed and are a necessary component for success. Sometimes this statement puts up red flags and get a little nervous and say, oh my God, you're talking about accommodations, and you know, we have other employees, and how is that going to balance out making all these accommodations for folk who are living with mental health challenges, or parents of children with mental health challenges. But this merely states that you're looking at the best way to partner with the youth and family peer. You are looking for what their needs are, and you are trying to provide them with the necessary supports in order for them to do their best work. Excuse me. Secondly, address all confidentiality issues at the start of the process. I know that one of the things that I've seen across the state as being a potential barrier is sharing information with family and youth peer support. Many people are concerned that, oh, well, we can't share this information with the peer support because they're peer support. But these things should be addressed initially, right at the beginning of the process. And the same confidentiality statements that are signed by others who serve families would be signed by the youth and family peer support initially. It's in the contract, so it's part of the process. Also develop a list of skills, gifts parents can bring so that their expertise and experience can be maximized. Sometimes programs don't know how to utilize family and peer support, and this is key. Identifying the strengths of knowing what a youth and family peer, what they do well, and utilizing that when in the process. Explore alternative ways of paying family and youth, and this is an ongoing concern and barrier of we are now in the process of becoming Medicaid billable. So we know that that is an important step that has taken place recently in our journey. But we also know that there have to be other ways of sustaining the family and youth peer support. Medicaid billable is just one avenue. So always looking for other ways from your county, funds from your organizations to be able to provide the support, the funding that's needed for family and youth support. So choose the method that enhances the partnership while accommodating the needs. So we've already kind of spoken about the accommodations that might be needed. There may be need of flexibility for the youth and family peer support. And I believe that really just plays right into the needs of the families, because their lives are not 8 to 5. So it's going to be very beneficial to the family to have a support who is available at flexible times. So when the need arises, the peer support is available. Maintain open communication. Some of these things, of course, is what you would do normally with any other employee or contractor. You would maintain a communication that creates an environment where support can be provided, especially with the supervisor of the family peer support. Making sure that clear and open communication line is available to both. Remember, you are partnering with a family and youth because of their family expertise. To get that expertise, they have gone through and will be going through difficult times. So, mental illness is not curable, it's managed. And we are excited about the strides that our families make when it comes to their mental health challenges. But we do know that there are times when there may be a crisis may arise. And even when they are in a hard position, And so being able to kind of talk through those kinds of needs in the very beginning is going to be extremely helpful, and to be accommodating when those needs arise. So just want to talk a little bit also about what a family partner is not. And I think it's important because a lot of times there are concerns that the family partner might be coming in and take other positions away, and that they are going to be operating in a role that is other than the one that is actually authentic and peer support. So a family partner is not being hired to be used to agree and support the way of work of the sponsoring agency or program. We are hired to really look at the way things are and how it can best be suited to the family. We support the family, and we are there to assist and support that family in articulating what their needs are, and for that young person to be able to articulate, you know, what's working well and some of the things that are not working so well. They're not hired and using the position to do other duties not related to the established roles of support providers. So we're definitely keying in on the established roles. So that's one of the things that is important to do during the initial process of hiring family and peer support, is to establish that role. North Carolina Families United provides technical assistance across the state in assisting organizations hiring the positions, and we are there to really kind of look at what can be a pitfall or what kinds of things are actually authentic and to the best practice and fidelity of the role, so that the organization has that information in their job description. They're not a token position. It's not a token position that has no role or value in the program decision-making process. And that's really important for both the youth or family peer support. And the key is that's what we look at our families as well, that they bring value to this whole decision-making when it comes to service delivery and treatment. So they're not just there to check off you know, box, even if it's a mandate. It's important to really for the information to be shared with organizations and agencies, so that they can really begin to embrace the role and really understand the role and see the value in the role. And they are not a volunteer position that never develops into a paid position within the program as the individual and the role evolves. So opportunity there for to move about in an organization doing peer work, and recognizing that it's not volunteer. I know there have been times when I've been asked the actual question, don't you want to give back to your community? And I'm, you know, and I give back every day, but in my role, in my position, I work hard in that role, and I have studied and obtained skills and taken tests and really gone through a process to be validated, and ethics and all of these things in order that this role is valued, and that it's valued monetarily, as it is that's the way that our society acknowledges the validity of roles in our community. So I, at this time, as I was speaking before, I was talking about agency and community partners being ready for family and peer support, youth peer support. And so I kind of wanted to just go over a agency readiness assessment form. I am going to just go through it quickly, but I just kind of wanted to just show you the kinds of things that we think are important for organizations and agencies to consider when they are in the process of hiring family peer support. So it says to describe your agency and the type of organization, the children served, and so you can really start to get an understanding of who you are as an organization, and talk about why you want family peer support. Why is this important? And so kind of reflecting on that aspect of your organization, assisting that. What is your understanding of the family partner peer role? And so of course that's extremely important. I've mentioned before, to understand that role, because it will be the supervisor and the organization that will be the cheerleader for the role, as it is a unique role, being hired because of the struggles you've had, being hired because of your lived experience. How are you educating staff on the value and the uniqueness of the family peer support provider role? And I think that it's so important that we really kind of lay this out, format it out, because it really has to be deliberate, that this role is shared with not only your organization, but also your community partners, that they truly understand the role. How is the family peer support being integrated as an active member of the treatment team, valuing them for the information that they bring to the team because of the unique relationship they have with the family? How are you providing? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, did someone say something? How are you providing regular supervision for the family peer support? And I think we are, Shireen and myself and some other partners are going to be assisting with really, you know, sharing information about supervising this unique peer support position. So I'm going to make sure that this assessment is sent out to you. I'm not going to go through every one of them because I really want to get to the meat of what we're talking about today, which is the role. So I'm going to make sure that that information is shared with you. Okay, so for some reason, my slide went back to, okay, here we are. So, so some key terms in youth and family peer support. Family driven is one of the key terms in youth and family peer support. Youth guided, and also youth and family engagement. Family driven means that the needs of the child and family dictates the type and mix of services provided. Families have a primary decision-making role in the care of their children, as well as in the policies and procedures governing care for all children in their community, state, tribe, territory, and nation. And, you know, this does not mean that the family gets to make all the decisions. It is just saying that you're going to look at what the family needs in order to determine what it is that is provided for that family, and that they are a primary decision maker. They are very much leading the process as to what it is that is needed and what it is that they are interested in, and so far as treatment, supports, resources, because they're the ones that actually are going to be the ones to utilize and to follow any type of plan that's made. So it is important that they are the ones who are leading the process in making these decisions. A family-driven system of care gives priority to the family and the youth in making the decisions. The family-driven systems of care actively demonstrate their partnership with all families and youth by sharing the power, by sharing resources, by sharing authority, and even the control with them. Family-driven systems of care ensure that families and youth have access to sound professional expertise, and this includes family and youth peer support. They're not an add-on. They're something that is integral in the key components of providing treatment and support. And so, you know, when you're thinking about the families and the youth and having that type of support for them, it is important that we are able to look at this process as something that's important to actually providing services to families, that shared partnership. And I know that in some of the agencies or community partners, such as maybe Department of Social Services, Child Welfare, school systems, or juvenile justice, you're going, it's not shared. We are mandated. We have to make the decisions. It's not about, we're not talking about that they are in control of the outcome. We're talking about them being very much in authority and in leadership when it comes to the conversation that takes place when we're determining what the treatment plans are, what the services and supports are going to be. So what is a family partner? A family partner is defined as a parent who can articulate lessons learned from his or her own lived experience parenting a child and or youth with social, emotional, or behavioral challenges, and has specialized training to assist and support families raising children and or youth who experience social, emotional, and developmental, behavioral, substance use, or mental illness concerns. A family partner collaborates with child and family serving agencies. We're not there to, we're not the enemy. We are definitely there to support the voice of the family being heard, support the needs of the families being met. But we are a piece of that puzzle that is to try to support a family in reaching goals and greater outcomes. So that collaboration is key to our role. We partner and collaborate with our partners in our community, you know, and some of the unsung partners that we sometimes don't think about, like our YMCAs and our churches. All of these partners are important to consider when we are providing treatment and we are supporting families in getting their needs met. We want to make sure as a family partner that we are looking to improve the family's outcomes and to strive to eliminate stigma and discrimination. So a family partner must be a parent and or caregiver of a child who receives services. And when we say parent, we are saying that a parent who is a person who is parenting or has parented a child experiencing these kinds of concerns. I would like at this point to share a video that I think might be helpful in looking at our role as well.
But I think you need to do that from here. Oh,
Yes,
there we
thank
go.
you.
Never mind.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. So one of the things that we'd like to make sure is that that we are being authentic and we are doing our role to its fidelity. And I think that this video speaks to some key pieces or a key piece to being a family partner. Do you want me to try from this end?
Yeah, because Fred is, for some reason, it's not coming up on mine when we switched over. So
Okay.
you want to try to do it through for the video?
Sure, I'll try.
And I'm not speaking very well.
What happened? Sorry, guys.
And I'm not.
Trying to get it. Okay.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me. And I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head. And it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
You do have a nail in your head.
It's not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See,
out.
you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It's... Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just.
Don't.
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on? We can work it out.
So in this video, we see a frustrated helper who sees something that appears to be an issue or concern that they think need to be changed in order for the person to reach a goal that they're trying to reach, and that they're trying to point out the role and the problem, and the person is basically saying you're trying to fix things, and I want you to just listen. So I'm trying to get back to my original slide. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Okay, here we are. And so one of the key components of being a family partner is to listen. And if we don't listen, we cannot support the family. And there are a lot of times we're going to see things and we're going to say, oh God, if they would just do this or they just do that. But what we're listening for is what it is that the family is interested in pursuing. What is it that they need support for? What are the resources they're looking for or need? And so listening is key to being a family partner. Also, we're able to identify with the family and share commonalities with the family. We may not have the same experience. We may not have walked in the same shoes, but we've taken a similar journey. We understand the pain of parenting a child who's accessing services. We brainstorm with the family to solve problems. We don't tell them that this is what you should have done. We don't say, hey, you know, when I was in that situation, this is what I did and this is what you need to do. We might share what we decided. We might allow that to be an option for them to decide if that's something they choose to do as well. But we are constantly brainstorming and just really looking at what is available for the family. Our family partner is a champion for children, youth, and families, and they're a champion for accessible and appropriate treatment. So anytime that a family partner is in a meeting or that they are supporting a family, these are the things that they are championing. They are always wanting to make sure that the family is being heard and that they are getting the appropriate treatment. We link families to appropriate resources. We try to make sure that those resources are valid resources. We might do a cold call ourselves just to make sure that this is still, that they're still up and running, that they're available, and that they are going to be suited to our families. And again, we collaborate with our partners in our community. We do have an opportunity to be certified as a certified family peer specialist, and we share this type of information with organizations who are hiring family peer support and with the peer support themselves. We assist them, we support them in their process. I, as the implementation specialist, will also help them with the trainings, finding the trainings they need, and the certification process. So this, again, is some of the guiding principles and values of family peer support. We would like to be valued as visionaries and missionaries and pioneers in our field. Again, we do sometimes have to question the status quo. We know that flexibility is important and necessary, and creative accommodations are needed. We understand that culturally competence is important, and it's important that we are supporting the family and getting their needs met wherever they are located. They may be in a rural or urban environment. That might be a different way of accessing services, and we have to be available to understand those needs. We expect that our positions will be important to the entire process. And again, family-driven youth focus is extremely important. We value strengths. That's a key component. And we know that we will be held accountable and responsible, but we also expect that from those that we work with. Support providers are not exempt from expectations. We want to make sure that that is not seen, that we are doing our work and expecting that there will be excuses for not performing our work to its fidelity and authenticity. We understand that there has to be a paradigm shift, and we also understand that that shift takes has to be redone over and over again, that there are times that we fall back into the way we've always done things. And so we are constantly cheerleading and talking about what we bring to the table, and just talking about that paradigm shift, changing the thought process of who families and youth and family peer support are. And we develop our skills in our workforce. We train. We have to take a test every 2 years and recertify. And we are very creative in problem solving. And we never believe that we have done all we can do. We are constantly trying to look at new ways on how we can support families. So we are not professional counselors. We are not social workers. We're not psychologists. We're not medical experts, and we're not miracle workers. We're not clinical, but we are complementary. So Kyle, you want to talk
Sure.
about you got it and go into your...
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about utilizing youth and family partners, we should also look at what is youth guided and how is that important to the work. So youth guided is defined as young people having the right to be empowered, educated on the issues, and given a decision-making role in the care of their own lives, as well as the policies and procedures governing the care of all youth in community, state, and nation. So that just means that they're able to be in control of their own destiny, that the work that they're doing in order to improve themselves and improve the and working with their family and their support system is directed by them, and that they're able to be in control of their own lives as much as possible. And instead of viewing youth as simply the recipient of services, youth are empowered. And this includes through education as well as skill building and being informed on the issues that they're facing, and how the treatment is going, and what types of services they'll be receiving, and are given support to find their voice and express their ideas and opinions. We believe in empowering young people through the skills and the trainings to enable them to use their voice in a way that is effective and productive for themselves and their own treatment. So when we talk about youth, a lot of times young people who face mental health challenges are placed in what's called a PRTF. A PRTF is a psychiatric residential treatment facility. And these PRTFs provide longer term inpatient facility care for individuals with a mental illness or substance misuse, and who need 24-hour supervision and specialized interventions. You can stay at these PRTFs for months at a time. Many of the time, it's dependent, release is dependent on their progress. So there's no set time for them when they're going to leave, which can be very difficult for young people. I think a lot of times, having uncertainty in whether or not they're going to be able to, finish out the school year or be able to see their friends before the summer ends. These are things that our summer begins. These are things that young people face a lot of times when going into PRTS, because they're uncertain about what the amount of stay is, and it's dependent on them getting better. So what are some things that you might want you to know about what it's like in PRTFs? Before I go forward, I want to state that I was myself in a PRTF when I was a youth. So these are opinions and thoughts that came from my experience. However, each experience is different. Some youth do really well in PRTFs. Some youth have some of the most traumatic experiences of their lives. So it's important to realize that just because I'm saying this doesn't mean it's 100% reality for all youth, and we're always striving to better PRTFs across the state and the country in order to make services for youth more youth friendly and not as traumatic. But it is important to know that trauma can happen within the PRTF. A lot of times young people go to these treatment facilities in order to get better, and whether it's because of some of the other youth that are in the facility, or whether it's because it's just a scary experience for them, they can leave having some newfound traumatic experiences. That's not to say that PRTFs are a bad thing. Most PRTFs do everything they can in order to ensure that trauma does not happen, but it would be foolish to say that that it doesn't on occasion happen, and to hear youth when they say it's scary in here. Also, it's important to know that they feel alone and neglected. They may feel alone and neglected by their friends, their family, and it makes them sad and anxious. So one of the things that we really believe in when working with PRTFs is ensuring that youth have as much access to their natural support system as possible. We strongly believe in not making it a reward system in order to contact their family and friends. A lot of times we PRTFs in the past have offered, based on progress, you can call your parents X amount of times. We don't believe in doing this because those are things that are important for them to get better, is having access to their families and their natural support systems. And also recognizing that this isn't my fault. When will I get out? A lot of times young people feel like prisoners who are committed, who may have committed no crime. They're in this situation for something they don't realize that they did. They don't recognize that they did anything necessarily wrong, and many times they haven't. Obviously, if you have a mental illness, that's not any fault of your own, but not understanding why they're there, wanting to get out, it stresses them out. And so, when we work with young people, knowing that these are some of the things that they're feeling, knowing that these are some of the issues that they may be facing, helps us be more empathetic towards them, be more sympathetic, understanding that this is a experience for them that's going to take a while to get through, but we're there, and we know some of the issues they may be facing. So, like I said before, youth don't have a say in their placements. What this does is it leads to a lack of empowerment for youth, and it takes away some of their autonomy. We believe in teaching young people that when they grow older and go through their adolescence, that they start to take control of their own lives with schooling and learning vocational skills. But this is something that we kind of do the exact opposite. We put them in a placement where they have no control many times over that. So we believe in understanding that youth are also separated from family and friends for months at a time, and this can lead to depression and anxiety. And also a challenge for youth in PRTF is that they're just confused, exhausted, or even angry after PRTF stays. A lot of times youth who leave PRTFs have difficulty trusting their teachers or their parents or their caregivers because this lack of trust and resentment towards it can be caustic. So it can sever relationships, especially peer support relationships. So ensuring that when we work with young people as youth peer supports, especially as a youth who may have gone through similar experiences, is to be cognitive that they are exhausted, they're tired. They've spoken with psychologists and therapists for months at a time, and sometimes all they need to do is just have a little bit of fun. Sometimes they just need to relax, and kind of take a breath, take a deep breath, and kind of get past some of the experience they may have had. So how do we overcome these challenges that we have? First, we believe in giving youth the opportunities for their concerns and voices to be heard. These opportunities include going to potential PRTFs or going to organizations that work with youth and just telling their experiences, letting their story be heard, and just giving them the opportunity to feel like that their story is their experiences are valued, are, are valued, and we believe in youth empowerment. What that means is we want to engage youth by allowing them to be heard and respected. We want to be available to youth. This is the most difficult time of their lives, so we need to be empathetic and understanding and be the support they need. As I said before, sometimes they will let you know if they want to just take a breath. If they're saying stuff like, if they're saying things like, I really don't want to talk about it right now, or I'm just tired, can we just do something fun? These are kind of the clues that maybe right now they feel overwhelmed and need to just take a step. We also want to offer peer support, peer-to-peer support and youth empowerment organizations. This includes the work that I do with North Carolina Families United and Youth Move North Carolina, which I'll talk about in just a moment, but also just providing peer-to-peer support to them and giving them the opportunity to connect with other peers that they can feel like they can open up to. And lastly, a lack of trust between the youth and caregivers and support staff can delay engagement. Peer-to-peer support, mentoring services like Renew and Youth Move, as well as other youth empowerment organizations, provide youth with space to feel comfortable talking about their experiences in the PRTFs. So I just want to wrap up everything I mentioned just by saying that there are, the work that I do with Youth Move North Carolina. Youth Move is a youth peer support organization in North Carolina. We provide support for youth by connecting them with their peers. So if you have any questions or would like to learn more about how you might be able to use youth peer support and Youth Move in your communities, please feel free to reach out to me, and we would love to set something up. And it's something that we having had a lived experience myself, having been through some of these tough times, but have been able to get through it. I know how important having peer support that is youth guided is in order to help me become a better person and be able to get through some of those tough times. So thank you.
Kyle, could you did you mention youth leadership?
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. It slipped my mind, but we do have a opportunity for young people to learn about how to be better leaders in their community. This summer, from June 24th through June 26th, we're offering a free leadership series that's going to be done virtually through Zoom. How it's going to work is those 3 days we're going to have trainings that are offered that are youth focused. These are trainings that we've been doing for many years, and we found that the youth connect with the training material. So if you're interested, youth who participate will receive a $75 stipend. We do that this year because we know that it's going to be, we're asking a lot for them to sit through 3 to 4 hour Zoom meetings in a row. So we're incentivizing it. If they complete the training, that they'll receive a $75 stipend. So if you're interested in signing up your youth or would like more information, just so you know, these trainings include how to tell your story and advocacy 101. That's, focusing on, how do I effectively tell some of the experience that I have in a way that adults will understand and kind of get the message across. We also have peer support 101, introduction to wellness recovery action planning, a mental health first aid, and recognizing how to take care of yourself as well as others. And then also we have cultural competency. This includes recognizing LGBTQ communities as well as different races and ethnicities and cultures in a respectful way. So these are some of the trainings that we'll be offering. If you're interested in signing up one of your youth or would like more information, feel free to contact me at kylejreese at gmail.com, or you can go to our website, which is youthmovenc at youthmovenc.org. And on our homepage, we have a link to the leadership application that you can fill out directly from the website.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Thank you for bringing life back into this presentation. I'm excited anytime young people are able to share their own experiences. I know as a parent that one of the concerns I had originally was that there was not enough attention paid to the young person themselves. My daughter was not, a key component of the process until we started the system of care process and really looking at the child and family teams and looking at a lot of the different ways that young people can be involved in their own treatment and how important that is. So when we talk about family partners and youth partners, and we talk about providing that support to families, to youth and families, we recognize that in order to support them, they must be engaged in the process. And so when we look at engagement, we think of the act of engaging, we think of being engaged. So we're looking at it from not just the standpoint of what we do to engage, but we think about how they feel about being engaged. We think about emotional involvement or commitment. We also think about the state of being in gear and ready to move forward and to really facilitate change. The act of sharing in the activities of a group. And, even as Kyle spoke about the youth leadership, I also have a Youth Move chapter in the county that I live under an organization that I founded. And these young people are so excited when they're able to connect with other young people who understand, just being in that process of talking about what's best practice and what helps and what harms is so important. So when we talk about that third key term about family and youth engagement, we think about several things. We think about supporting families and youth and recognizing their needs, strengths, and resources, because many times they don't recognize what their needs are. And for all of us, it's a challenge sometimes identifying your strengths. Really being able to acknowledge the good pieces of you, especially when you have been in an experience where so much focus has been on the deficits of you. And resources, the appropriate resource, being able to brainstorm and really assist families and youth in options, resource options. It's not just one thing. Even when it comes to treatment, looking for creativity, looking for ways of finding, meeting those needs if the need is being met by in a way that is not being helpful. And then empowering them to take an active role in working towards reaching the goals they have identified for themselves, that they have identified for themselves. And it is really important that we as family partners recognize that these goals and these lives belong to someone other than us. They belong to the people we're serving, and they're the ones who have to determine when it's time for them to do whatever it is they decide to do. And we're there to support them and making sure they have everything, or at least options in being able to reach those goals. We consider it an active partnership between families and providers. I must admit, when I initially came into this process, I came in as a parent. My husband had just recently passed away, and I had children who were probably grieving. Of course, I didn't realize that at the time that might have been some of what was going on with the behaviors, but this process came to my community, and they started talking about collaborations and partnerships with not only, we're talking about family and youth partners right now, but at the time we were talking about active partnerships between families and providers. And really, as youth and family partners, that's what we're illustrating. We want to be someone who the families can look to see how this process can look when you are actually partnering with your provider or with your community. And family engagement is a family-centered, strength-based approach to establishing and maintaining relationships with families and accomplishing change together, because sometimes the bridges, they get burned. Sometimes when there's misunderstanding and there's not clear communication, and when things are not happening well for families, some things happen, and we have to reestablish relationships. And we as family partners, we understand that we do not excuse behavior, and we understand that that cannot be the goal, to excuse the behavior of youth and even of us as family members. But it is important to understand it, because that's the foundation of being able to then provide the type of support that families need. So benefits of family and youth engagement is increased engagement of families and youth. When you have young people and you have their parents and their family engaged, when we're talking about engaged, we're talking about the act of engagement. Then they're engaged in the entire process. They're engaged in the treatment. They're engaged in the obtaining and accessing the resources, because it's important for them to be engaged in it, because they are the ones who really are the ones who have to execute. They are the ones who determine what they are going to access and the types of things that they believe are going to be important for them to utilize. A transformation of the system to be more responsive to the needs of populations they serve through authentic involvement of the families, consumers, and youth they serve. And, as Kyle spoke about, the $75 payment to the young people for their participation. Initially when I started this process, again, it was always, don't you want to give back? And sometimes I'm like, don't you want to give back? Or do you have bills you need to pay as well? But I do think that as we begin to progress in this process of that partnership between families and providers and youth and providers, we understand the importance of the information that a young person and a family brings to the table. nothing, you know, nothing. You are not able to really support them unless you know what it is they need. And they're the only ones that can truly articulate what it is they need. You can come up with a bunch of ideas and thoughts who are creative and exciting to put in a book. But when it comes to actually engaging the families, you need to individualize that. And you need to know specifically what does this particular family need and what does this particular young person need. Support of the family and youth through the services, of course, we've talked about that. That is key. I have as a family partner, as long as I've been doing it, the thing that really floats my boat is when somebody says to me, thank you for helping me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for, I don't know if I could have really been able to get through this day if I wasn't able to call somebody and vent about how I'm feeling. I don't want to alienate the people who support me, but I'm angry or I'm upset or I'm hurt, and it's not working. And to be able to be that sounding board for them is so important. Help to connect the family and youth to additional services. And I think Kyle mentioned natural supports. It is so important. I know sometimes it's hard for families and even identifying their natural supports. I know it was for me. I know that initially I felt I didn't have any because I felt that, you know, as I'm also a minister, so I had a lot of people who felt, first of all, that, you know, you need to cast out demons. And I know that might sound strange to some people, but just your culture in which you live, people have ideas about mental health, and they think that you should utilize those ideas. I have family members who, you know, if you just give them a little spanking, you know, on that rear end, and they won't act that way. So it was really hard for me to consider them as natural support. The support part was hard, and the natural part, because it didn't feel that way. But, you know, when you have people around you who are supporting you and identifying who those people are, they may not be the person you call when you're upset and you need encouragement, but they may be the person who can drop your child off at the Y. So being able to utilize natural supports and bridging that gap between the family, agency, and community stakeholders, ensuring that the youth and the family successfully fulfills program treatment requirements. So, and when we say successfully, we don't mean that they do what you want them to do. It's that they are able to complete the goals that they have set, and really understanding that sometimes there is this language barrier, especially when it comes to young people. And that's why youth peer support is so important, because, you know, it's very important to understand their culture and to be able to connect with them. As a minister, there are times when I've had, you know, to share and with young people, and, you know, I'm talking to them and they're on their phones. And I remember one time I was sharing some scripture, and I'm like, this is important. You know, I'm a preacher, you know, this is important. They need to be listening while they're on their phone. And then I was so embarrassed because they were pulling up scripture. You know, I'm just saying that we look, you know, we looked at things from our eyes, through our perspective. Sometimes we can damage a relationship because we truly do not understand who we're serving. So families and youth serve as reality checks for the program, because if you, you know, we have a lot of ways that we collect data, and one of the things that is important is that the data is, much of the data is collected from the people we're serving, and that you're utilizing perhaps youth and family peer support in the collection of that data, because there are many times when families will tell you whatever it is you want to hear, because they may be afraid. They may feel that it might affect how they receive their services. So they might not want to tell you, you know, the truth about it. But you need accurate information in order to really notice what's working and then know what needs to be changed. Families and you can validate the differential between perceived and real needs. Again, same kind of thing I was talking about earlier. And when you talk about diverse families, families who have a different way of living, culture, and culture is not just ethnicity or race, it's just how people live. Someone who lives with drug addiction in their family, that's a whole different type of culture that needs to be understood in order to better support that family. Families and youth can advocate in ways that agencies cannot. And so being able to utilize the family or even the family and youth peer support to advocate for things that we can help you as a provider. I can't say that, Fred, you say. I've had people say, I can't say that, Fred, you say that, you know. They agree, but, you know, we don't want to, first of all, cut off the hand that feeds us. And also the role of family partner is to question the status quo. So families and youth can help sensitize agencies, and always being able to help in the agencies in understanding and better understanding families. And you'll notice that I cut and paste some of this information from some of the information that we've had in the past, and it says professionals, but we no longer say that. We say agencies because we're all professionals in the work that we do. And so many other benefits that of families and youth engagement. So why family and youth partners are key in family engagements. Families and youth often trust one another more than they trust the systems. The families and youth engage in clinical service quicker and complete treatment. We found that out even in the collection of our data, that when there's a family support partner involved, the family is more likely to complete treatment, because that family or our youth peer support is able to kind of sit with them and go through things and help them to get a better understanding of what's being asked of them, and you know, just supporting them and making sure that they have everything they need in order to complete treatment. I know we constantly have talked about transportation and childcare, but sometimes it just goes under the radar. Yet again, even though we know that those types of things are so important for even just someone being present at a meeting and so forth. So really kind of, you know, really identifying what those are. Families and youth are driven by experiences and their passion and making that connection with other families. Involvement gives families and youth a sense of ownership and a shared desire to make the program successful. The young, usually as a family partner, many times I would advocate and request that families on the ground that were receiving the services will be parts of our trainings as we co-train with agencies about treatment, service delivery. I would bring families in, and I would bring them in and pay them to be able to, well, actually I didn't pay them, my organization did, so let me clear that up. But really recognizing how important it is to have someone who's really being the one served, that they're able to really share information that's so important. Partners are easier to work with than adversaries. So we, you know, want to make sure that there's a relationship there, and family and youth involvement reduces demands on agency. We're there to help. So it's really great when I see a whole bunch of folk sitting around the table together, agencies and families really having a goal in mind and really working together to support that role. That is so awesome. We have our state collaborative. I was on the call this morning, and just it's a place where agencies and families come together to discuss some of the you know, challenges and barriers, and really working together, because as a parent, I'm gonna tell you, I need a psychiatrist, I need a psychologist, I need a teacher, I need all of these things. And I think as parents, we are realizing just how important these things are, as we have been locked in our in our homes with our children and our grandkids, and we're saying, Lord, we're so thankful for all of the helpers that we have in our communities. So right now, I wanted to kind of see, I don't know if there's some things that are already in the chat box, but I just wanted to think about some of the challenges or barriers that you face when you're serving families, and some of the barriers that the families face in order to actually be engaged in treatment. And I know that, again, as Kyle was giving out information, I think at the end of our presentation, we have we have information about our organization, and we do technical assistance, and even though, you know, I'm asking you these questions, we have some of our family partners and youth partners who actually go out to collaboratives and assist with technical assistance on how to engage youth and families in those groups, which are important, because if you're having a collaborative, a local collaborative, and you don't have youth and you don't have parents, then you don't really have a true, authentic local collaborative. And so you are needing support with that. We have, our organization provides that type of support. Also, we have I'm implementation specialist. I assist family partners who are in high fidelity wraparound teams, family partners who are working within PRTFs and integrated health settings, and all those things. So we are definitely available for those things. But I do we have any questions, any comments on barriers?
One participant said, I'm not sure if this is exactly what the question is being asked, but one of the barriers I see is when parents become very restrictive with rules and kids are not allowed to utilize any kind of self-care. For example, kid is grounded and not allowed to go to the library and read books.
You want to say something? I'll start it off with I guess I'm guessing that's more of a statement than a question, because I think that one of the things I would say about that situation is, normally if a parent is doing something of that nature, that means that they don't feel that they have control over what's happening with their children, and that they are looking for ways to support their child in being able to meet goals, or that probably have been set by people who are supporting them. For instance, if you have mandated by the court that your child will attend something or be a part of something or will complete something, and then they have a mental health challenge or they have a substance use challenge, it's almost as if you're expected as a parent to do abracadabra work, miracle work, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, then the reason that my child found themselves at this place is no longer a barrier, so I'll just, you know, tell them to do something and they'll do it. So I'm thinking that probably it would be helpful to assist that parent with engaging or finding some ways to better, not punish, I don't want to use the word necessarily punish, but redirect their children in better behavior, that they're looking for ways to do that. So I don't think it's just something that a parent just wants to, well, don't read a book. It's something that they're seeing that they think they might utilize, which is not always the best answer. Just as Kyle said before, we have parents and providers who do that. So that's one of the first things that happens when a child has an issue. Say, for instance, if they're playing football or they're, engaged in some activity at a Y, is to kick them out. So I think that conversation is a broader conversation for all of us on how do we support young people in being able to, have control over their behavior and or have skills in order to deal with the behavior that they live with. Anything you want to say about that, Kyle?
Yeah, I think you covered all the bases. I think we believe in finding coping skills for young people that allow them to address some of their issues in a productive way. And sometimes those coping skills, a parent might take away the iPod or the phone from the youth, but they might use that phone to listen to music, or as the example that was given, going to the library to read books. So really working with the, as one of the great things that youth peer supports do is that they can kind of be in a way, a lot of times they can be a liaison between the parent and the youth, kind of hearing what the youth says. The youth peer support should always be, listening to the young person and always understanding what the young person is saying. But they might also kind of understand where the parent might be coming from and kind of giving them the opportunity to have their voice be heard. So I think a lot of times youth peer supports need to make sure that they understand what their place is, obviously, not overstepping bounds, but also allowing young people to stress that, this is something that I would like to have. I would like to read my book. I would like to utilize my coping skills, and finding a way to kind of, engage those services. Another question that came in, or another statement, is, was that an observation from lived and professional experience, it seems that those in authority or who are deemed the quote unquote professionals do not hear and are not interested in what the youth feels would be helpful or options that seem viable to them. Often those in authority impose what they think is best, but what they should do, the treatment plan that they create without the input of the youth or caretakers. Therefore, the youth is voiceless in the services they receive. And then also that when the youth does not follow the imposed plans, medications, etc., they are then deemed non-compliant or traumatized slash re-traumatized, labeled and made to feel hopeless and helpless. This was definitely my experience as a youth involved in mental health, hospitalizations, and services, which made me not want to be honest about what I was experiencing or to be honest with the providers about anything. And again, this is coming from one of the participants. I don't know if she wants her name to be put out there. But I think hearing that from, knowing my perspective as a youth, I think you're exactly right. I think we're kind of, and that's exactly what youth guided is. We're being told by adults, you listen to me. But a lot of times when it comes to our experiences, sometimes you have to listen to me.
Yes.
I'm the expert. I know what it's like to feel this way. So I think it's important to recognize that when we're not maybe feeling like maybe I shouldn't be, I don't like these services, I don't like these medications, they make me feel crappy. That's where enabling, or I should say empowering youth to speak up and have their voice be heard is extremely important, and that's what we strive to do in order to be youth guided.
And I think it's so important, especially when we talk about our child and family team meetings, or any meeting where we're having youth and family peer support there, or the family there, is to understand that that is one of the key components of being able to provide the appropriate services, is listening to the young person. And knowing that, I know as a parent, I have had seen many a time in a child and family team where the child or the family says, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. And then it's written right back into the plan again. And then, and when it doesn't work again, it's like, as you said, Mr. or Miss Chatbot, as you said, they are then labeled non-compliant, and they don't care about their children, or they don't care about the services, or the young person is they're not trying. They don't want to. I mean, sometimes it is hilarious to me that I am used to be in meetings where I would hear people talk about, and it was parents and providers, not just providers. They would just go down the list of all these things that this child has been diagnosed with, and the things that they're having these challenges with, and then they'll go, But if he wants to, he can do better. And I'm going, whoa. And then sometimes it would be that they didn't even know what the diagnosis was. I mean, they wasn't sure if it was it might be this, it might be that, you know. And this is not to insult the integrity of people who provide service. I'm just saying that this is just a way we do things sometimes, just like as a parent sometimes. You know, my daughter was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and again, I'm a minister, so I would be in the grocery store, right? So I know the boundaries, the kind of boundaries that I would have to kind of utilize in the grocery store if I didn't want to get embarrassed. But guess what? If my daughter started doing something and people was looking at me like, what is she letting her do that? Instead of me engaging in the process that I know works, I want them to think I'm a parent. I can make her do something. And of course, you can imagine how clean up on aisle 6 because you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make her do something that she can't do or that she hasn't the skills yet to do. So yeah, I think that whoever wrote that, that's a book. You need to continue until you finish it, and I will definitely buy it.
Absolutely.
Fred?
Oh,
Okay. No, go ahead, Kyle.
I was
I
gonna.
just wanted to ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I was actually gonna read your barrier, so you can go ahead and read yours if you want, Shireen.
Yeah, please.
Well, so this is kind of more of the challenge for the peer support workers. So we have family partners and youth peer support specialists that have worked for Promise Resource Network. And it's very different from a systems perspective when we're talking about youth and families versus adults, right?
Mhm.
Because usually with youth and families, there are multiple systems involved. Frequently for us, Child Protective Services involved. There's a review of things like reunification, termination of parental rights. It's not just simply the kid is experiencing distress, it's that the entire family is system involved. And what we find is that a lot of the systems are very paternalistic and they are very consequence-based, both for the parents as well for the young people. And so we are in that really sensitive place of making sure that we are supporting the young person and the family members to be informed, to have a voice, to identify the things that are important to them. And on the other end, we are constantly having to re-educate systems on the job of a peer, that we are not there to be a mole. We are not there sharing with them everything that people say. Our job is not to make people compliant. Our job is not to enforce rules. That is not what our role is. And
Right.
but we've been doing this for many years. You know, it's been about 6 years in youth and family systems, and we're still having that tug and pull because systems are just so accustomed to tell people what to do, and their job is to do it. And so I do think there's a challenge as a peer supporter on the youth side and on the family side when multiple systems are involved and they don't truly understand the role of a peer support specialist, and you're kind of stuck in the middle of all of it, having to engage everybody, be a bridge, and re-educate over and over and over again about your role.
You're right. You're so right. It's an ongoing process. And again, you know, kind of what I was saying earlier is that it's fluid. It's not. We never reach our destination. We are constantly. There are times when I'm supporting. I'm in support in a process or with some people that perhaps that I've been working with for God knows how long, and it's going. And I'm going, what did you? You know, I'm saying, oh, we've been doing this for a while, you know, but that's why we're here. That's why families, and that's why young people, and that's why peer support is here and available and needed, because we can reiterate and redirect and assist in that in a way that is so helpful, I think, to everyone, because I think it's just hard not to do it the way that you've been taught. Because when we talk about school, that's why at one point I was a co-teacher, co-facilitator at UNCG. We were teaching a multidisciplinary class, and some of the things that are being taught are taught a certain kind of way. So it's really good when you can have young people involved in pre-service. And so it starts from the beginning. But once you've got certain things ingrained, and when things work better, let's be honest, it's can be a little bit smoother sometimes, or easier if you don't have family support partners you know, throwing up red flags that this is not family driven, or this is not authentic to, you know, the role. It's easier to just go ahead and do what you're doing, and then, you know, just say apologize later. So Shireen, you are so correct that that's something that we are constantly doing. And I'm glad that we are able to do that, and that it's now being valued, even though there's still challenges with it. Sometimes it's kind of stressful sometimes, because sometimes you feel like the Lone Ranger, but we thankful that it's a recognized workforce now and valued. Were there any other questions or statements?
Not any in the chat box.
Okay, so let's say we just want to then, we're getting close to wrapping it up. I mean, we're going to talk about what families say about engagement. They say engagement starts from the very first connection or phone call. If the first person is rude or doesn't know how to handle the call or situation, it may turn the family away forever. Or if it doesn't turn them away, they're turned away in their heart. Let's put it that way. They're not engaged. They, you know, when they're present in the agency or wherever, they are constantly thinking about how they were treated, you know, and they feel a certain kind of way. And sometimes we as family members and young people, we hold grudges. We hold grudges, and we need some peer support to help us to get out our grudges. But the point is, though, that engagement starts at the beginning. You can't get in the middle of it and think you could, you know, start engagement. It starts at the very beginning. Families need to know their voice is important. I think we specifically talked about that. Even our participants have acknowledged that that is so important. Families want to feel lifted up and empowered and encouraged and hope. They're looking for all of that good stuff. And we know that some of us find ourselves as families in some serious situations and some sad situations, some challenging situations, and we're not suggesting that those are ignored, but there is always hope. There is always, when you've got people sitting around a table trying to support families, that's hope right there. And so that means then that we, even if we do nothing but end on some positive quote, or bring in some food, because I like that when you bring in food, you know, or have something, you know, change the environment, make you know, really thinking about how you know, the environment feels to the family. Do they feel isolated? Do they feel like they're in a place where they have no power? And so, did I? Okay. Okay, so families are more engaged when they feel like they're making a difference. Believe it or not, that's what they want. They want change. Most people do not. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't that we're not responsible for our behavior or accountable. But what I'm saying is, if we like better, we like greater, we like things to be, you know, different. So you know, we just don't know how to get to that place. So that makes us feel engaged when we feel like we're part of the solution and not the mere problem. If they feel like they have some control, you know, like the location of the meeting, time of the meeting, if the meeting times and spaces are convenient, these are, you know, some regular things. But other types of control, where the voices are really being utilized and making change in their community and in their state and nationally. We have families who speak at national conferences and you know, and train and all of that kind of thing. Those are some important things to include, you know, even if you hire a family partner, if you do trainings, you might want to, you know, utilize the family partner to be a co-trainer in a lot of some of the trainings that you're doing, because there can always be a perspective from the family, no matter what type of training. It doesn't mean you have to have a degree or that you have to have a certification in order to know how it feels to be a family receiving whatever it is that is being discussed. If reminder calls are made, child, please remind me. I got that alarm on my phone. So they help me out. So, you know, if somebody gives a call, that's good, you know. And don't think, oh, well, I ain't calling them, they're grown, or I ain't calling them. If they don't come, then obviously they're not interested. So, no, you know, if you have time, or if you have someone who can give a reminder call or a reminder text is awesome. Then that's a good thing. If they're provided support and treatment in safe and non-judgment, Lord have mercy, environment, which is hard, because you know, I thought I was non-judgmental, but I found my children make sure that I'm very aware. Hey, you got some judgment in you, you know, and so we really have to really, you know, acknowledge that and analyze that and think about it. And, you know, we got trainings for that, you know, where we talk about our own baggage that we bring. So I guess we've already talked about most of our questions. I don't know if there are other questions. This is Kyle's information and mine in our organization. Again, remembering Children's Mental Health Week this week, and that yesterday was Children's Mental Health Day, Awareness Day. It, you know, brings a little tear to my eye, because I think about my daughter, who was 5 years old and diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and the struggle. She's 32 now, bless her little old heart, and I'm so proud of her. And I'm just happy to think about the process that we went through, and how the agencies, the teacher that understood her, the provider that we were really able to connect with her, and, you know, all of the natural supports and all the people that have helped us to get where we're going, family partners and North Carolina Families United, all of that from its beginning. So that's our presentation, unless there's any other conversation.
Well, Fred, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much to both you and Kyle for doing this. You really have gifted us with this opportunity. You didn't have to do this. You were volunteered to help us to shed some light on family support and youth peer support. So I appreciate it so much. You did a fabulous job, and I'm making an offer for you all to come back anytime that you want.
Okay, as long as you help with technology.
You know, I got you, girl.
I have a
We're in this
problem.
together. We're in this together. For everybody else, so join us every Friday. It's a different topic related to peer support. It's for peer supporters, for supervisors. We are using topics that are being asked of us. So if you have a topic that is important to you that you want us to focus on, just let us know. And everybody have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Be safe, be well, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye.